Kalte Oidasula Oniprte. Hello and welcome to part 9 of the Small Nutmeg course. Today we will talk about adpositions, and it would be useful if you already have learned about lenition before you learn about this, because in a part of the lesson we will very briefly also talk about lenition, but without going into very much detail what it is. So lenition you usually learn when you also learn about the plural, so if you have learned that, then probably you're fine. But in case you have no idea what lenition is, then maybe go to Discord and ask some people in the questions chat if they can help you. So, before we can learn about adpositions, we should first actually clear up the question, what precisely is an adposition? In English, they are better known as prepositions, so maybe now it rings a bell what the hell we are actually talking about. So these are words like I fly with you, we go to school, the student make their homework before the class, I'm from Germany, but I live in the Netherlands. So they allow us to add more nouns and show their relation to the rest of the sentence. That's basically what they do. And the reason they're called prepositions in English is because they go before the noun, so pre. With you, to school, before the class, from Germany, in the Netherlands. So always before the noun or pronoun they belong to. In English they're now called adpositions. This is because they can be added on both sides. So this is how the name comes to be. And this already tells us a bit about how to use them. So let's very generally look at how to use an adposition. Here, 3 small sentences. I fly with you, we go to school, he lives in the USA. And like you see, I always have 2 different translations. Of course, because of flexible word order, we could do a lot of more sentences. But the difference I wanted to show here is just that you can put it before and after. But like I said, of course, there are many more possibilities on how to write these sentences. So, I fly with you, oe, hu nga twajon. Oe, I, hu nga, with you, twajon. But because we have adpositions in Latvi and not prepositions, I can also say oe nga hu twajon. Same for the next sentence. We go to school. Ne nomtseng ge au nga. Or nomtseng ne ge au nga. And lastly, he lives in the USA. Gelku sipo me USA. Or gelku sipo USA me. So what we see is the adposition can go before a noun with a space. You see hu nga, ne nomtseng, and me USA. All 3 have 2 separate words. Or it can go behind, but then without a space. So then it becomes part of the word. We see this with nga hu, nomtseng ne, and USA me. They are all 3 are single words instead of 2. Adpositions in combination with adjectives. So now of course the question is, where do I put my adjective if I want to add an adjective to the sentence? Here I have 2 examples for you. I play with the cute nantang, and I play with the nantang that runs. So we have subclause here. Maybe you saw my last video about that. If not, don't worry too much about it. Just keep it in mind for once you learned about subclauses. So again, this time I have a few more combinations for you to show all the things that can happen. So, I play with the cute nantang. Cute nantang would be nantang ahona or hona nantang. So, oe hu nantang ahona uvansi. In this case, there is no problem at all because I put the adposition before and the adjective after, so they don't get into conflict with each other. Same with the second sentence, oe hona nantang hu uvansi. But of course, what is more interesting is what happens when they actually get into contact with each other. And this is the other 2 examples. Oe hu hona nantang uvansi. So here you see the hu is this time in front of the nantang. The adposition is in front of the nantang. And then the hona, the adjective, goes in between because it has to be closer to the noun in this case. Oe hu hona nantang uvansi. But if I put the hu behind the noun, then actually the adjective comes after. The reason for this is simple. In this case, the hu becomes part of the noun. So it becomes part of the word itself. So the ahona, which still is a single or an own word, goes after. Oe nantang hu ahona uvansi. And actually it works exactly the same with subclauses. Nantang a tuul, the nantang which runs, or we can also put it in front, tuul a nantang, nantang which runs. And it works exactly like with the adjectives. Oe hu tuul a nantang uvansi. I, with the nantang who runs, play. Or after oe nantang hu a tuul uvansi. So even if you haven't learned about subclauses yet, just keep in mind that they act exactly like adjectives in this case for whenever you learn about them. So if the adposition is before the noun, everything that describes the noun goes between the two. Like I already told you, we will again talk about lenition today. The reason for this is that some adpositions cause lenition. Just as a very, very quick and brief repetition, the first sound of a word changes, that's called lenition. And the first sound only changes if it's one of these, so the ejectives and change into ptk. Those and also then change into f, s, and h respectively. The diphthong disappears if not before double r and double l, so before the pseudo-vowels. In a dictionary, the adpositions that cause lenition are usually marked with a plus. Here, for example, you see it in reconnu, adposition plus. Also in fueo, there it's actually on the word. Same, or here in anti-dictionary, it's again on the word type, adposition plus. And also in dictionary, you see it. So actually, the 4 big or 4 good quality dictionaries will show you with a plus that an adposition causes lenition. Let's look at this in practice. So some examples: I swim in the river, there are fish in Pandora's rivers, I fight against the tall warrior, the defender fights against the warrior. So in and against, me and where are 2 adpositions that cause lenition. So, oe slele me hilvan. I swim, hopefully I don't sleep, I swim in the river. Hilvan comes from kilvan, which means river. And now, what is very interesting, we see if I put the adposition behind, then it doesn't cause lenition. Because lenition can only be caused to something that comes after the thing that causes lenition. So, oe slele kilvan me. Another example, there are fish in Pandora's rivers. Lufaioang me I hilvan eva evenge. Here you see I have the I in brackets, because like you probably know, there can be a shortened plural that when there is lenition, the I can be left out. And here the lenition then stays if we put the me at the end, because the lenition is also caused by the I prefix. So, Lufaioang I hilvan me ewa evenge. I fight against the tall warrior. Oe we saula taranyuwem. What you see here is that saula comes from tsaula. Tsaul means tall. So what happened here is that, like we learned, an adjective goes between the adposition and the noun if the adposition is in front. So now the where actually is in front of an adjective, and it still causes lenition. So these adpositions, if they cause lenition, can cause lenition to any word that comes after. It doesn't have to be a noun. Also, if there's something else in between the adposition and the noun, like in this case the tsaula, the tall, it still causes lenition. But, here, very important point, that only happens if the adposition is in front of the noun. In the next sentence we see tsamsiwe palulukan wem. So here the we is behind the tsamsiu, but the palulukan doesn't change. So it doesn't become falulukan, it stays palulukan. The p doesn't change, even though there is a we in front. The reason is very simple. Like I said, adpositions only cause lenition if they are in front of the noun they belong to. So in this case, the we is after the noun belongs to, behind the tsamsiu. Because of this, it doesn't cause lenition anymore. So here is a list of adpositions that cause lenition. Me, which means in on, ro, which means at, ile or ile, Actually, one of the very few words where you can where there is no stress. You can do both. You can say ile and ile. By via according to. Lisre by up to, not but not after. Isre. Isre right before. Sre before. Fbi for the sake or benefit of. We against. Nue beyond, and sko in the role of. But let's look at the middle sentences again. There is something weird there, right? Because, let's look at this. There seems to be a kind of ambiguity. If I leave out the I prefix, so if I just say Lufayoang me hilvan ewa evenge, then how do we know if the lenition in this case, so the change from kilvan to hilvan, comes from the leniting adposition, so from the me, or if there is a hidden I? How do we know that? And in most cases, it will just be context. Because, for example, there are fish in Pandora's rivers. I mean, Lufayoang me hilvan ewa evenge. Very, very likely, ewa eveng, so Pandora has more than one river. So we can assume that this is the plural, or that the plural is intended here. Same in the first example with I swim in the river. Oisele me hilvan. We can very much assume that I don't swim in two rivers at the same time, or in multiple rivers actually, because plural I, of course, is 4 or more. We can assume that I only swim in one river right now, so we can assume this is meant to be the singular, one river. This is why I chose these examples, because these also were kind of or very similar to the examples that Paul Frommer used to talk about this, because he actually did. And what he said, because of course not always context applies, sometimes it's just completely ambiguous and you don't know what this meant. What he said about this is literally this. Rule for plurals after adposition that cause lenition, so adposition plus. If there is the potential for misunderstanding and the plural is intended, the full plural form is used. The lenited form without I is interpreted by default as the singular. Note that this is only if there is a potential for misunderstanding, because, like I said, these examples are actually very close to ones he said, so you can leave out the I if it's clear from context. But if the context is not clear, then you have to write the I there. So, after these words from Kayo Paul, let's go on with looking at some adpositions. Of course, I will not list all adpositions, I will just show you 3 different cases where it might make sense to look a bit closer at what adposition means what. And first we look at who versus far. Both mean with, but what's the difference? Who means with accompaniment, so together with someone. Some examples. Oi uvan si hu nantang. I play together with the nantang. Nga hu oi twayon matsmukan. I fly with you, brother. So when Tsute at the end of the movie says, I fly with you, or I will fly with you, he would use ngahu here, because he wants to fly together with Jake. Vegaim boyom sasim hu peye. This evening he'll eat with his parents, together with his parents. On the other hand, we have fa, which also means with, but by means of, so with the help of something. Twayon taronyu fa ikran. The hunter flies with the ikran. Many people that had just started the language would use who here because they fly together with the ikran, of course, they fly together with their friend. But if you say twayon oe hu ikran, what we then have in mind, so the mental picture they get is that the ikran is flying and you are flying next to it. Like, I don't know, you are using your arms as rings and flying happily next to your ikran. You will always fly, or you will always ride your ikran while flying, so you always are flying with the help of the ikran, by the means of the ikran. So, you would use fa here. Tutan sehenaru beaksi fatstal. The man opens the container with a knife. So fatstal, with a knife, by means of a knife. He doesn't open it together with a knife, like it's not like there's a big knife standing next to him and together they try to get it open. No, he opens it by means of the knife, with the help of the knife. And last one, Brnenur Yomting Fa Okup Satnok. the mother feeds the infant with milk, so with help of milk. Next one is vdu versus da. Both mean from. Vdu means from as a direction, so it's basically the opposite of ne, which means towards something as a direction. Vdu is from a direction. So, vdu oi Neytiri mas kaung. Move away from me, idiot. Vdu fetseng zene hivum. We have to leave from here. Ngaza upeseng vdu. Where are you from? Then on the other hand, we have ta, from, which is from in the sense of origin or time. So, dr ong ta, on ong vai bo toleran. He walked from from dawn until dusk. Za'u tatson ta ewa. That obligation comes from era. Bol bolaum ti baumit weta. He asked me a question. So here we don't have a from in the English sentence. He asked me a question, there is no from. But actually the Natvi asked a question from someone. So he asked a question from me. Or basically they're asking for an answer from someone. So, weta, from me, he asked me a question. So, and we are already at the last one, I think. Na versus el. If you look them up in the dictionary, for both it would just say like. So like something. You are like a friend or whatever. And they seem to be just the same. And that's actually the case in most cases. They are in most cases interchangeable. So you can use na or el, whatever you prefer. I see a very strong tendency to na in a community. This might be because I think we have far more example sentences or official example sentences for na than for el. So it might be that because of this a community or many people just prefer to use na. Maybe just many people like the sound of na more. But you can use both interchangeably. They're great. Yeah, use whatever you like more. But there are some cases where you have to use one of them and not the other. First one is together with the verb zet. With zet, we only use el. Zet means to treat something emotionally like something. So for example, ngal bod zet, you treat him or her, el eilan, like a friend. Or the next one is an official sentence, Peiradil zet wura wutsot a aunem, Peiral treats a cool cooked meal, el snel, like garbage. So in these two sentences, you can only use el. You are not allowed to use na. Next would be new color adjectives with na. So we can build own color adjectives together with na, and it works like this. Fesiulang aean na tatleng, the skin blue flower. So ean means blue, na like, tatleng skin, aean na tatleng, blue like skin. So the skin blue flower, because fesiulang, this flower. And lastly, comparisons of equalities. So for example, as big as a tree, also are built together with na. Oilu niftan setan na nga. So the niftan here is as something. So oilu niftan setan, I am as good. Na nga, like you or as you. What were the key points from today? Today I have again a small overview for you. So, adpositions go before a noun with a space or after a noun without a space. In that case, they become part of the word. An adjective goes between the adposition and the noun if everything is placed before. So if the adposition is in front of the noun and you also want to put the adjective in front of the noun, then the order is first adposition, then adjective, then the noun. But after the adposition, if both are placed behind. Some adpositions cause lenition, but only if placed before the noun. By the way, you have just to learn it by heart. There is no rule or whatever, you just have to learn these stupid few adpositions by heart, or you just always place them after the noun, because then you don't get the problem with having to remember which one causes lenition. Yeah, if this causes ambiguity with the short plural, then it's always assumed that it's the singular. So if there's an ambiguity and you want to have the plural there, you have to write the I. You cannot leave it out. And yes, that was already it. If you have any questions, like always, you can ask in the comments or contact me on Discord. I hope you learned something new. Hi, Yellow Weimar Frappo.